Hello, welcome to the Big D's Free Agency Fiesta. Yours truly hosting it on the Spunky Spectrum Sports, driving to the top production. It is the Big D himself, and we've got a special guest joining me, literally as I'm starting. So, is that you, Charles? Can you plug in your mic?
Now you can hear me.
Oh, thank you. Well, literally in the last 5 minutes, we've got breaking news. Devontae Adams looks like he's going to the Rams.
Oh wow, yeah, I didn't see. Adams was probably the best one out there. That was not that was going to change teams for sure. He was the best receiver that you could get for sure. That wasn't going to stay with the same team. Wasn't going to resign. So Adams, I think, was the best one.
2 years, 46 million, 26 guaranteed. I think the question is, can Devontae Adams play with Matthew Stafford? Because Devontae Adams has only played pretty much with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he played with Derek Carr for what, an hour or two.
Well, he played with Derek Carr. Yeah, you're right. He's pretty much played. He played with Derek Carr in college, which is why he went there in the first place and leaving. And that was one of the reasons that he went. So yeah, he's only played with Aaron and Derek Carr his whole college and pro career. I think, but to play with Stafford is good. to play with Matthew Stafford is a good thing. Stafford is fantastic.
I could think of a worse option than playing with Stafford, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, with this move, does this mean Cooper Cup is finito in LA?
Well, I think that's been true with Cup as it is. I don't think Cup is going back regardless. I don't know where he's going particularly. There's a lot of receivers out there. I've kind of noticed there's I don't want to say recession on receivers, but there's some good. I mean, Stephon Diggs is available. I mean, he's a starting receiver. They did sign. I think Higgins got the franchise tag, but Cup is out there. Yeah, there's a lot of receivers out there that are available, more than I think there usually are.
Chris Godwin, but be honest with you, I don't really think there are a lot of impact free agents. We don't see a lot of impact free agents. Same with these teams having more cap room and these GMs being so much smaller, locking up key guys. It's like there's nobody getting the free agency. I mean, Trey Smith. Oh wait, the Chiefs franchise him. The Bengals T. Higgins. Nobody getting free agency, but I think they're all veteran free agents now. I think all the wide receivers are past their prime. I mean, Cooper Cup's not what he was 3 years ago. Diggs is coming off a torn ACL. Who knows how Diggs will be? I mean, there's a chance Diggs ends up following his old offensive coordinator in the my team, but
Amari Cooper, the Bills, and Keenan Allen I had on my list here, along with DeAndre Hopkins for Kansas City's out there.
I think
and Hollywood Brown already re-signed yesterday.
I think there's a chance DeAndre Hopkins has played his last down in the NFL. That's just me.
That's possible. That's possible. He wants to retire. If he can't go back to Kansas City or go to a team that's going to be a good team, yeah, it's possible he might just hang it up.
Well, then again, there is at least one guy available in trade talks, and that's DK Metcalf. You heard the ridiculous rumor that Seattle wanted a first and third from Metcalf? Not going to happen. Second round pick. I think still probably too expensive for any team wanting a wide receiver.
First and third, I think that's just crazy. This is not 2006 where you give away a whole team for a wide receiver. Metcalf. I keep thinking Metcalf is going to be Seattle. I mean, Oakland. I mean, not Oakland. Las Vegas, rather. because that's where Geno Smith went. So I think that kind of makes sense why he was upset. He kind of smelled something that they were going to move Geno Smith, so he might do what Devontae Adams do and go to Las Vegas with Geno Smith, and certainly they have a lot of cap space in Las Vegas to go ahead and sign him.
I mean, Vegas, yeah, Raiders have got a mucha amount of cap space. So let me see, what is it? It's not as much as it was, but still, 40 something million. So I mean, still quite a bit. Why not Green Bay? Why not Green Bay?
Green Bay doesn't sign a lot of free agents. They just don't. I mean,
I know, but Green Bay was aggressive with Xavier McKinney and Josh Jacobs last year. Christian Watson's coming off a torn ACL, may miss most, but not all of the year. Jane Reed, Wicks of both possession wide receivers. DK Metcalf, maybe getting DK Metcalf out of there is the best spot. Now, I know DK Metcalf seemingly wants to play with the Chargers. Problem is, I know Jim Harbaugh's teams don't rely on a big receiver. And Jim Harbaugh's teams never been wide receiver heavy. And guess what DK Metcalf would be when the Chargers run the ball 45 times a game?
The Seahawks, which is why he doesn't want to be there. The Ravens have always kind of had this same problem. Teams like with that throw the ball all the time, that run the ball all the time, rather, they don't want to play there. That's why Hollywood and every receiver complains in Baltimore up until this year, where they really, for the first time, I thought changed. But like, if you're going to run all the time, like a big time receiver doesn't want to play there, especially if he hasn't gotten paid yet, because you need the catches and the volume to go ahead and get the money, and it's not going to happen if you're going to run the ball all the time.
It would feel weird that you don't want to play with Lamar Jackson, or you want to play with Josh Allen, but seemingly Josh Allen was better without Steph Diggs and Gabriel Davis. Although Lamar's been fine without a top receiver. Heck, Pat Mahomes won Super Bowls without Tyreek Hill.
I think that's why you're kind of seeing teams like not spend the money they once did on receivers. Tyreek Hill a few years ago got $30 million. You talked about it, 1 1/3. Like that certainly would have happened 8 or 9 years ago. Not anymore. Teams are now not running backs are kind of getting more track. It's copycat. Ravens having success, Bills having success. Teams using the Philly run game. They're kind of like, okay, we don't need to go out and spend $1 zillion on a wide receiver anymore.
And I think with what Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, and Josh Jacobs did, guess what? If the weather's crappy, I can't drive my hot Ferrari anyway. I need my SUV or my pickup truck.
Well, you're right about that. I do think, and yeah, like January, like you're talking about, it's going to be playoff football, and I do think like even the good coordinators like running guys now too. That always matters. Sean McVay runs the ball a lot. I keep saying Mike Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan runs the ball a lot. You see Schottenheimer with the Cowboys now. I don't know much about him. His father, Marty Schottenheimer, run game all the time. You see teams. This is what they're doing. Minnesota today, Aaron Jones, run game. I mean, so I think it is a shift, and it's part of why you're seeing some of these receivers not get what they've been getting.
And it's also, look at the last two NFC Super Bowl representative running backs, Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley, doing everything. I mean, yes, you want to pay a 30-something running back, but guess what? If Derrick Henry is going to become available, I may want that guy on my team. I don't know. That's just me.
I mean, I don't know who wouldn't want Derrick Henry on their team. I mean, sometimes these
I just
guys.
want Derrick Henry out of the AFC South. I don't care what team he's on.
Well, I kind of felt that way today about Myles Garrett getting like $1 zillion.
Oh,
As
speaking
well.
of that, we've got another guest, Dodger Jason. Hey, Jason, you're just in time to talk about the biggest deal of the day. The Browns locking up Myles Garrett for what, 3 years, 120 million more. I think Garrett's what, 5 years, 200 million with what, 20 something million guaranteed.
Yep.
I thought Myles Garrett wanted out of Cleveland. Apparently not.
Well, I guess Myles Garrett proved one thing, Dylan. I guess he proved that if you want to get more money and be the highest paid player at your position, you no longer have to ask for money. Just create social media posts that portray you as a recalcitrant miscreant who doesn't want to be on his team anymore. So there you go.
I love the SAT words there. Recalcitrant mischief. Yeah.
Thanks, Charles. I appreciate it. But no, you're right. When Myles came out with that Instagram post over a month ago saying that he wanted to leave Cleveland because of the direction the organization was going, he made no hint or no gesture that money was a part of this. And look, to his credit, he did say he wanted to stay in Cleveland, but he didn't want to stay in Cleveland if the organization wasn't going to do what they needed to do to put a winning football team around him. So here we are, fast forward a month and a half later, and hey, what can I say? The old saying goes, money cures everything. So, and look, give the Browns credit. Myles Garrett called their bluff, all right? The Browns were adamant about saying to him and his agent, we are not trading you. You can come out all the live long day until you're blue in the face and say you want out. But at the end of the day, you're our best player. You're the guy who puts butts in our seats in our stadium. We are keeping you regardless of how you feel. So give the Browns credit for standing their ground. They called Myles Garrett's bluff. And I think his agent also finally told him, look, Myles, you're going to be able to go to another team. But the Browns aren't going to facilitate a trade for you. So let's just sign you up. Let's get you inked for the next 4 or 5 years and see what happens. So I think in this case, it's a situation of Myles taking what he can get, and obviously being that he's now the highest paid player in his position, and the Browns obviously standing their ground, not letting their best player go, which, again, credit to the Browns organization for doing that because they stood their ground and, they ponied up.
I'm very surprised this was about money. I am. I think you can do exactly what Jason just talked about if it's about money. Like Lamar a couple years ago, it wasn't about anything else. It was about money. I really thought in this case he was kind of tired of losing and tired of all that, and so they write the biggest check they can ever have. And he signs. So I am a little surprised in that case as well. That he took, and I'm surprised. And again, I'm not in Dylan's tax bracket or Myles Garrett tax bracket. Knows knows about money, but I'm surprised the guy that's. I mean, how long has Garrett been in the league? 7, 8 years, 9 years?
Yeah, he was drafted in 2017.
Like kind of the same thing with Stafford. Why do you care so much at this point about? I mean, I guess it's easy. I try to think, but after you've made $200 million, that you're still so worried about money.
I would be ring chased from Myles Garrett, but maybe it's just product of today's game. I mean, I think the Browns are going to be bad with or without Myles Garrett. I mean, even with the number 2 pick, I think Cleveland's down the dumps, and unfortunately, Myles Garrett could be wasted. Myles Garrett last few prime years could be wasted on a terrible football team.
Yeah, he very well could be. And, Dylan, you brought up a good fact about the Browns being bad for a long time because they do have a few bad contracts on their roster, one of them still being Deshaun Watson's.
I guarantee I know which deal you're talking about.
All right, which deal am I talking about?
Oh, Deshaun.
I'm sorry?
Deshaun.
Oh, so yeah, it's interesting because I saw that they had restructured Deshaun's contract a couple days ago, And then lo and behold, the announcement comes down that Myles Garrett got into a contract extension yesterday. And so I thought, oh, okay, so they restructured Deshaun's contract to make room for Myles. But as I understand it, with that organization, there's still a lot of semi-bad contracts that they need to restructure. So it sounds like the restructuring of Deshaun's contract was not predicated on Myles signing there. But no, I hear what you're saying, Dylan. You know, it's just like with the Browns, they're the constant tail of the cat, or the constant story of the cat always chasing its tail. They always go around in the same circle. And it's just like you never see any light at the end of the tunnel with Cleveland. So, and a Browns fan, a Browns insider would be able to better expand on that. I'm just speaking as a non-Browns fan, but yeah. So it's, you know, unless Cleveland pulls some miracles out of the bag here and has a tremendous offseason and a tremendous draft, they're still going to be at or near the bottom of their division for a long time.
Yeah, I agree. I really would have liked to have Evan on and really see what he thinks of this. The only football thing I keep thinking about is maybe Garrett likes the quarterbacks. That's got to be the one thing in terms of he likes Shador or he likes Cam Ward or whoever it's going to be. Maybe he feels that could be a thing. But that's the only thing I can kind of think of, okay, where you think that he could go somewhere with the quarterbacks.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Charles, but I mean, even with Cam Ward, I mean, there's no guarantees that Cam Ward is still going to be the cream of the crop of all the quarterbacks coming out of this draft. And granted, this is a weak quarterback class this year because Cam Ward and Shador Sanders are probably the two best out of 4 or 5 top quarterbacks entering the draft. But still, I mean, with all the buzz surrounding Cam Ward now, there's still no guarantees that he's going to be the next Randall Cunningham or that he's going to be the next Bernie Kosar, especially at that position, which is the most crapshoot coin flip position in the entire NFL. You just don't know, regardless of who you draft, whether it's a kid in the first round or a kid in the 5th round, you just don't know how they're going to pan out. So that's a big bet for Myles to play if, in fact, he is betting the bank that they're going to get Cam Ward and turn him into something special there. You just never know. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying.
Well, I think it's funny you mentioned the word bank, and he can buy his own bank. Just deal with, okay, well, we got the first 2 picks. They're going to give me $1 zillion. Let's go.
Yeah.
But every team in the league had to ask about Myles Garrett. Everybody. I don't think it was one team. I mean, there wasn't one team in the league. This was one of the teams where, like, he probably had all 30 teams. Maybe except for San Francisco or whatever, like that. Maybe there's 1 or 2 that don't, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. As a Packers fan, I've been reading a lot of stuff over the last couple of weeks about the Packers engineering a trade for Myles Garrett. And then when I saw that they inked Isaiah McDuffie to, I think, a 3-year deal, I'm like, okay, thank God that's not going to happen. And now I'm hearing that they're on the verge of re-signing Quay Walker to a long-term deal. I'm like, okay, all right. That officially ends the Myles Garrett speculation right there. So, and not that I didn't want Garrett to go to Green Bay. I mean, I'd be an idiot to say I don't want the best player in his position, but still, I took it with a hefty grain of salt. Just like a lot of other fans with a lot of other teams took the rumors about him going to their club also. So you're right. I mean, he was linked to everybody everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar put out him on a AI with Myles in a Ravens jersey. Himself. So, I mean, because you'd have to be nuts. This guy's unblockable. I watched him for years. You don't put 2-3 guys on him, you can forget it. I mean, he's gonna just terribly just yeah.
Yep.
So with Myles Garrett now staying in Cleveland, that leads me to maybe the biggest fish in the room, and that being Micah Parsons. Looking at what Myles Garrett got, and seemingly Jerry Jones waiting until the last second to pay guys. A, do we see Micah Parsons stay in Big D? And B, what will Micah Parsons' next contract begin with?
What did you just see? I mean, I think the bar has been set with the Crosby and the Garrett contract. Here's a guy younger than they are, not quite as good, but not far behind. I mean, I think like definitely his agent can put him in that category of a guy that's gonna command $30 million. I think he stays in Dallas. I don't think they get rid of him unless it's so overly massive or something like that. But I don't think they get rid of him.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they're going to get rid of him either. I don't think he's going to get the big money. I think. Well, I don't. Well, let me rephrase what I just said there. He's going to get money. I don't think it's going to be as big as Myles Garrett's. It'll be close. But to think that he's going to get a Garrett contract, I just don't see Jerry Jones willing to back up the Brinks truck that far. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets Micah to take a shorter term deal, i.e. a 2-year, 3-year deal for more money rather than say a 5 or a 6-year deal for either the same amount or just slightly less than what Garrett took. So that's just my belief. And also seeing the way that Jerry's gotten burned by bad long-term contracts in the past. Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott. I think hopefully I would think that Jerry has learned his lesson, but with Jerry Jones, it's a roll of the dice. You never know. So all we can do is speculate.
Harold Landry signed with New England for $43 million, 43.5 over 3 years.
Well, did you guys see Devontae Adams just signed with the Rams?
Yeah, we started with that. Yeah, that was.
Yep. From Fresno State, coming back to the West Coast. The pride of the Bulldogs. Hashtag Bulldog Board, Bulldog Bread.
I use those Berman references. Was what from Louisville, from Baltimore.
I'll tell you what I think happens. I think Michael Paulson gets 5 for 175, but I think the Cowboys trade him. The Cowboys can't have Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Michael Paulson eating half the cap.
Okay, but if the Cowboys are going to trade him, why sign him to a long-term contract? I would just think that it would be difficult for them. If they sign him to a long-term deal, it would be more difficult to trade him after they sign him to the deal, wouldn't it? Because how are you going to convince a team to take on that contract if you sign him to a 5-year deal, $175 million? I'm trying to, because if I'm an opposing GM, Dylan, and Jerry Jones, and you're Jerry Jones, and you call me up and say, "Hey, Jason, Dylan here from the Dallas Cowboys. I just signed my man Micah Parsons, 5 years, $175 million, but we don't think it's going to work out. He has told us he wants to move on. How about we trade him? You give us a few draft picks, and you take on that 5-year, $175 million contract." I'll be like, I don't think so.
Why couldn't it be like a sign and trade? We saw with this week with the Dallas Stars getting Mika Rantanen and then giving him an 8-year deal. Why can't a team just name me a random team? Name me a random team.
Random team. Okay, how about Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Why wouldn't the Buccaneers come to Dallas and say, "Hey, we'll give you all first-round picks. You give us Mike Paulson. We'll give him 5 for 175, and you can have it on a pick, have flexibility, and we pay Michael Paulson."
Well, I don't think Micah is worth that many first-round draft picks. I think he's worth a first. Probably.
No, I said one.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said multiple first-round picks. My bad.
No way, Michael Paulson. Michael Paulson not anywhere close to
being worth 2 first rounds. Right. Well, I'll do you one better, Dylan. If you were to come up to me and say, "I'll tell you what, I'll give you Micah Parsons for a first-round draft pick, 2 second rounds. You agree to take on half his salary, and then we'll fit the bill for the rest. Then we can sit down and talk." And sign and trade, yes. I would
do it for 1 first round. I would do it for 1 first-round pick. Deal done tonight.
I would want more than just a first-round pick for Micah Parsons. I'd want a first, maybe a second round, and possibly a 4th round, but not just a first round.
I don't think the Cowboys are savvy enough to. I don't.
Right.
I'm serious. I don't think. I can't remember the last time the Cowboys made a trade and then it was like, whoa, that was. I don't.
Maybe the Amari Cooper trade.
Oh yeah,
but even that kind of was like the Cooper trade. Now Cooper played well, but they kind of overpaid. They gave up a first-round pick. I think they gave up and another. I don't think the Cowboys are slick enough to pull that off.
I mean, the Cowboys have traded 4th-round picks for Trey Lance and Donovan Mingo. Not exactly Troy.
That's kind of what I'm saying. Like they don't. Yeah, they're not. They're not. You know, the Packers or the Ravens as far as the front office. You know, real. I don't think that they're good enough. I think he stays. I'd be surprised. I mean, you're not wrong about the cap, but I think they might even give up Prescott first because you got no other good young players really. Like that's it. In the next 5 years, you get rid of Parsons. What do you have there in terms of like a megastar in Dallas? There isn't anybody else.
Yeah.
Prescott's time is almost up anyway. Like maybe another year or two.
Yeah. Good point. Good points. All valid points.
Well, speaking of your Ravens shows, Baltimore signed a key free agent target yesterday, giving Ronnie Stanley a few years. I think was it 2 years or 3 years?
It was 3 years, $60 million, $20 million per for Ronnie.
I love the deal from both sides. I mean, Ronnie Stanley's dealt with a lot of injuries, but stayed healthy last year, played really well. And for the Ravens, this is a Super Bowl ready team. And Baltimore's not historically active in free agency. But again, you know, Lamar in his prime, who knows? I think the Ravens have to keep this offense together. Now, what it means draft-wise, I think the Ravens have to get younger on the defensive line. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, I'm addressing the Ronnie one first. I was surprised that they went ahead and signed him. I think we talked about this the other day, Dylan, where I didn't think they would. I am pleasantly surprised that they went ahead and signed him. This is what ADC likes to do with his free agent money, spend it in-house. Gave $20 million to Ronnie Stanley. I don't think they're going to be active out here at free agency. Ronnie was probably better than anything else you're going to do. So I surprised. I was surprised. I thought they would kind of go with Rosengarten and go in the draft. So I am surprised that they went ahead and did it. So that's good. D-line, I don't know what the need is. Defensive line. I like Travis Jones. I like Matabuke. Pierce is older, but he was really solid last year. I think they still need to work on the O-line, the guard, for me. That's the big thing. Like Tyler Booker in the draft or something like that is so important as well. If they could steal one of these receivers, that'd be cool. You know, somebody said Amari Cooper, maybe the price will go down. Or if they could steal a Cooper Cup or something like that, that would be kind of cool too. And the thing we're waiting on is Andrews. Is he going to be back? And Tucker. Now, those are the two things that I'm waiting for the next 48 hours to see what happens there. Andrews, I think, may have to take less money to stay.
Yeah.
Justin Tucker's going to have to take less discounts at the massage parlor for good.
He won't be welcome back in any Baltimore massage parlor. It's going to be Deshaun Watson and Justin Tucker are just to become teammates.
I shouldn't be making fun of this situation because it's a very serious situation. But still, in this day and age with so much crap flying around left and right, I have to make fun of it because if I don't, I'll take it too damn serious.
I think also too we have the guy perspective, and I kind of said this like, and not to get too lewd here on your stream there, Dylan, but like you know how big of a jerk you need to be to go into a massage parlor or a strip club and get kicked out when you're rich. Like that's not like being nice isn't like in the mission statement for them. Like so, I'm not saying it's true. We don't know that. We don't. It could have been not true. We're all hoping for that, but that's a lot of people saying that. That's a lot.
We mentioned wide receivers. Both your teams. How about quarterbacks? I mean, we saw Geno Smith move to the Raiders, so he'll be Vegas' starting quarterback there. I'm guessing Sam Darnold's going to Seattle, but is there a chance Darnold ends up in Indianapolis, goes back to Minneapolis, or is Sam Darnold going to become the next Seahawks quarterback?
Well, everything I've been reading says that Darnold to Seattle is definitely in play and is highly likely. And obviously, it makes sense. They now have a need at quarterback. I guess as far as him going to Indianapolis, I haven't heard any rumors about that. I've heard definitely about the Vikings still being interested in re-signing him, but after the way Darnold folded in the playoffs, you'd have to think that Minnesota is going to say, "Hey, we'll bring you back, but we're going to bring you back on our price, not yours." And Darnold's not going to want that. I also heard a fleeting rumor that maybe the Falcons had some interest in him and that he had mutual interest in them, but I haven't been able to read any more about that to confirm that. But I definitely think Seattle makes a lot of sense for him. And if I'm Darnold, seeing the season I had this past year, but had a disappointing playoff campaign, I would want to take one of those 1 to 2 year rebrand myself contracts, sign a 1 or a 2 year deal, rebrand myself, and see if I can get a bigger deal after the next contract weighs out. But the thing that concerns me about Seattle, though, Dylan, is that after getting rid of Geno, it's now evident that it's completely full rebuild mode for John Schneider and company up there in Seattle. So if you're Sam Darnold and it's important to you to stay on a playoff caliber team, you're going to go to Seattle, which right now is not really a playoff caliber team. Now, they did re-sign Ernest Jones, the linebacker, which is good for them, keeps a good established veteran leader on their football team, but still on the offensive side, there's not a lot up there. And I have to think that Tyler Lockett could be on his way out very soon too. So
He's gone.
I'm sorry?
He's gone.
Is he gone already?
Yeah, he's already been released. Yeah, he's already.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So there you go. If I'm Darnold, I'm going to Seattle because I want to get more money. But if I'm Darnold and I want to still play on a playoff caliber team, I'm listening to Minnesota, see and hear what they have to say. I'm listening to Atlanta because I think Atlanta's on the fringe. They're not quite there. The Colts aren't quite there yet. The Colts are still kind of on a teeter-totter right now. So I don't know. It's real right now with Darnold. It's hard to say where he could end up.
Colts have a terrible GM. Chris Ballard and Irsay are real SO.
I think the Colts have a really good GM and a really good head coach. The problem is the Colts don't have a quarterback, and Jim Irsay's not much better than his father, but that's a story for another day.
Terrible GM. I think the coach is fine. I'm not showing shade on the coach, but Ballard is just he's not going to sign any money. The Colts for years led the league in cap space, until last year. They had more cap and then didn't sign players. They didn't. With Darnold, I think Seattle is probably it. I think you wouldn't trade him. I don't think they would have traded him, guys, if they didn't have an idea that Darnold was coming. He might not. I keep seeing today that the Steelers are interested. I think those two are good spots for him. I don't think the Seahawks are going to rebuild if they have Darnold. If you have Darnold, if you can get some, I think you're a decent enough team if you have Darnold. I think you're definitely rebuilding if you don't get him, though. I think they're kind of. I don't think if you have him, him and Geno. That's about. You're not losing much. I think you're about in the same place as far as a quarterback.
Is there a chance that maybe if the Seahawks don't look that interesting, maybe Sam Darnold comes back to Minnesota and says, you know what, I'll take a team-friendly discount for 2 years?
Yeah, especially since the Vikings just re-signed running back Aaron Jones to a $20 million contract. So they're bringing Aaron Jones back, who was a focal point of their offense last year. Yeah, Dylan, you're right.
I will say this. I think Minnesota's offense was not the same without that great left tackle when he wrecked his knee in that Thursday night game.
I think they want to play J.J. McCarthy in Minnesota.
I think so
I don't
too.
know if that's a good idea or not. I'm not saying I think that's the thing, but I think they want to see what they have. Daniel Jones is what I keep seeing. So as the fallback, I'm kind of with you guys. If I'm Minnesota, I understand the last few games, but I want Darnold to stay. I'd pay him. But
now you mentioned Daniel Jones, and seemingly few teams want it. Maybe the Colts, maybe the Vikings. is Daniel Jones going to be starting in the NFL next year? Am I correct? Or am I potentially drinking the wrong water?
You're drinking the wrong Kool-Aid, not water. Boy.
Of course, it's got to be Kool-Aid. It's a Fiesta. What else do you want?
Well, I had heard, and I don't recall who I heard this from, but I know last year before the Giants dumped him, there were rumors that the Carolina Panthers had interested in bringing Daniel Jones in there, and it made sense from the standpoint that he played his college ball. He played his college ball in North Carolina, so I mean, from a geographical standpoint, it made sense. But I mean, it seems to me like the Panthers, if they really wanted to move on from Bryce Young, they would have already done it. And Bryce did play a lot better during the last 4 or 5 games of the season. So I don't think they're going to bring Daniel in to nursemaid Bryce unless he really wants to. And if I'm Daniel Jones, I still want another shot to prove that I can be a starting quarterback on a team, Dylan. So I think you're right. I think he's going to want to go to a team to where he'll be a starter. I don't think he's going to be content being a backup.
I cannot understand what people see in Daniel Jones.
I don't either.
I don't see it at all. He's got some athleticism. He can run with the football. He's very inaccurate. I don't see it. I think he got lucky, got drafted as high as he was. I think because he has a relationship with the Mannings and all that, and I think the Giants got enamored with that, and then he was able to get into the playoffs right around his contract. So, but I don't think Daniel Jones gives you anything.
Hold up, sorry. The Buffalo Bills just re-upped Josh Allen for 6 more years, $330 million, $250 guaranteed.
Woohoo!
No brain, right?
Yeah.
And this is after they announced that they released Von Miller, but they haven't exactly shut the door on bringing Von Miller back on a lower deal. So
I am not bringing back Von Miller. Von Miller's not what he was. Not what he was. Especially off another ACL injury. Nope. Done. Finito. Done. Don't even think about it, Buffalo.
Jacksonville.
Oh, hell no.
Oh, hell yeah. You want a Daniel Jones Jacksonville Jaguar jersey, Dylan.
Hell no, I don't want Daniel Jones in Duval County.
We were talking about the Seahawks a few minutes ago with Darnold and Geno Atkins, and it got me thinking, as a Packers fan, I will be upfront and completely honest. I want DK Metcalf in a Green Bay Packers jersey. And if we can get the Seahawks to take Romeo Doubs and a 2nd-round pick, maybe a 3rd and a 4th, I don't know. I'll have to give more thought to the draft compensation for that. But I got to admit, I want to see DK Metcalf in a Packers uniform because I think DK on my Packers, what did Keith Jackson used to say? Whoa, Nelly.
Oh, Nelly.
Yep, I would love to see. Whoa, Nelly! I would love to see DJ Hackett in a Packers uniform, and I would gladly give up Romeo Doubs, the malcontent, to get him. So yeah, bring DK to Green Bay, baby. Hey, that rhymes. DK to Green Bay. Boom, boom, boom.
I think the Packers receivers have a lot of talent. I do. I've always kind of liked those guys, but they can't stay healthy. That's the issue. You can't keep them on the field. Watson. I don't know. Are you even going to have him at all next year? I mean, is he going to be?
No, Charles, hardly. I mean, he tore his ACL in the I think the 2nd or 3rd to last game of the season. So he's going to be out most of next year. Jaden Reed right now has been the best playmaker out of that group of young receivers they have. Romeo Doubs showed, especially in the playoffs, how good he can be. The problem is Doubs is never on his best damn behavior, aside from being injured. So we don't know how good he can be. And I would liken DK to going to Green Bay as to being very similar to when we got Reggie White back in the day and put him on the defense, because even though 2 different positions, 2 different players, I think DK could rub off on those younger receivers and open things up a lot more, especially with Christian not being there next year. He would be able to be a good influence on the field and off the field, hopefully, for that group of young receivers. And I think he would make Jordan Love a heck of a much better quarterback.
By the way, Jason, have you seen DK Metcalf play the 49ers? Every time I see DK play the 49ers or you Packers, A, he's getting injected, B, he's pissed off, and C, he's frustrated.
Yeah, I have. Look, DK does have a bit of a chip on his shoulder. The guy does play with his hair on fire sometimes, but in a way, though,
you mean the green hair?
Yeah, the green hair. Well, this time, if he goes to Green Bay, he could have green hair on one side, yellow on the other.
And she's in the middle.
And she's in the middle. Yeah, she's in the middle. So I hear you, Dylan. It's a bit of a risk getting DK just because you don't know what his behavior is going to be like both on and off the field. But still, it's that old saying: do the ends justify the means? And in this situation, I think they would. I'd love to see him in a Packers uniform.
I think it would work in Green Bay. I think it would work in Green Bay. But he is one of these guys. He has to get his touches. But I think it'd work at Green Bay simply because like guys like that don't complain when teams throw all the time, like Green Bay does. So that's why it would work. Like Kansas City receivers generally don't complain. They know they're gonna get the touches or like what's in that team? Like throws a lot. A team throws a lot doesn't there's nothing to complain about. You're gonna get touches.
Well, and I also say DK to Green Bay because I look at Josh Jacobs, and when Josh Jacobs went from the Raiders to the Packers, previously the part of the MO on Jacobs was, well, this guy's a malcontent. He doesn't want to play for the Raiders. He's just a grouch. He doesn't, he's out there just to cash a check. But yet Jacobs proved to everybody, A, just how good he is, and B, how good he is when he's on a team that wins, because he gave it his all last year. And you saw how infused with life he was when he got on a football team that won more than 4 games a season. So, I think DK also going to Green Bay will kind of help reinvigorate him a little bit. He's going from a Seahawks team in transition to a Packers team that is really close, guys. I mean, we are really, really, really close. So I think that would kind of reinvigorate him, give him more energy to come out and play his best football.
Mention quarterbacks. Does Aaron Rodgers anywhere go under your insurance?
Oh, funny you mentioned that because I saw where the Seahawks, surprise, surprise, have been linked to Aaron Rodgers now all of a sudden, which is very similar to what Charles said about Myles Garrett. I think every team out there that needs a quarterback is going to be linked to Aaron Rodgers. The 2 questions that need to be answered are both by Aaron, and that is number 1, do I just want to win? Or number 2, do I just want to play out the rest of my career, act like I don't give a damn, not mentor a young guy, and just go through the motions, okay? If Aaron wants to win, he will go to a team that wants to win. And I'm not saying he will go to a team that he would accept a reduced role on, but the point being is that at this stage of his career, to me, it seems like Aaron doesn't care about winning. So I think at this point, he's more content with just sticking around in the game as long as he can and padding onto his legacy there.
I think somebody's going to sign Aaron. I've seen too many teams interested in Aaron. I've seen you mentioned the Seahawks. I've seen the Giants have a lot of interest. The Squealers have a lot of interest. I'm sorry. I always call them that on the channel, the Squealers. The Raiders, they're obviously not now. I don't know how that's going to go with Aaron. I think that's kind of only my concern. He actually played decent enough the second half of the season. Mm-hmm. I think had he not done that, I think he definitely would have been called to retire. So the fact that all these GMs are showing interest in him in spite of his issues last year, I think that says something about him. So I do think he's going to sign, I think, with the Giants. I think the Giants would probably be the team to win him. The problem with that is kind of like what you said. You're not going to win with the Giants. I don't know what. I don't know none of these teams that we're talking about. Maybe Seattle, or teams where okay, man, I'm gonna go. They're gonna plug Aaron in, and they're gonna really. Yeah. I don't know if there's a team out there. Maybe Pittsburgh is already a decent team, but I don't know if that would work.
That's if maybe the Steelers don't get Justin Fields, but it looks like the Steelers like Fields.
Fields isn't the guy, man. Fields isn't. Fields, I think. You know what the strange thing is? He's got a lot of people in his corner. The Steeler fans all year long were really liking Justin Fields. So were the Bears. But the coaches and the management just kind of see it, kind of see what the rest of us see. Because he's fun to watch. I think that's why fans like him and things like that, because he's kind of fun to watch. But I don't. And again, this is what we're talking about. How many quarterbacks are there out there? So this is why Aaron Rodgers, still at 40 years old, has interest in him. Why not take a shot with Aaron and see if you can get one more good year out of him?
I mean, problem is, I almost think Justin Fields a better fantasy player than real life player, and I'm not sure Justin Fields is great fantasy player with how many times he fumbles, but that comes from me. I think it's going to be interesting, especially with a crappy quarterback draft and basically crappy free agency. I mean, I don't think there are a lot of impact free agents. I mean, all the big ones, Trey Smith franchise, T. Higgins franchise. By the way, look at the Bengal management. I mean, they could have signed T. Higgins for $20 million, Jamal Chase for $30 million, Henderson for 20-something million. Oh, wait. How are the Bengals going to play cap gymnastics with this?
Man, I was really praying that T. Higgins would be a Green Bay Packer too. As much as I want to see DK Metcalf in a Packers uniform, I really wanted to see T. Higgins.
I wanted T. Higgins in Jacksonville.
Everybody wants T. Higgins. Even the Ravens would love T. Higgins, right, Charles?
Oh, yeah. That'll work for me.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
I think he's as good as Zay Flowers is. I don't think.
No offense, Charles. I think T. Higgins is better than Zay Flowers. And I like Zay Flowers.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah. The Bengals, I think, are just they were the only team in the league this year where an elite quarterback didn't make the playoffs. They seem to start out slow every year.
Yep.
The defense is terrible. The offensive line is consistently terrible. You got the only guy really to have any success against Mahomes, and you still can't get yourself together because your defense is so bad and your line is consistently bad. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, and you have, I think, maybe the best pass rusher in the league, despite of all the things we said besides Myles Garrett. Trey Henderson, I think, is as good as any player. He's not the run guy that Garrett is. He doesn't do as well against the run, but as far as bending the edge, he's fantastic. Pressure, motor. Kind of reminds me of Michael McCurry, former Raven, the way he used to play, just energy all the time. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Hey, Cincinnati, you're the biggest cheapskates in the NFL. How have you wasted Joe Burrow? Yeah, Joe Burrow made a Super Bowl, but come on, Cincinnati. You've got Joe Burrow throwing for 4,900 yards. Trey Anderson leading the league in sacks. Jamal Chase winning the NFL receiving triple crown. And you failed to make the playoffs because your cheap, lousy owner can't sign anybody on defense. The Bengals might have the NFL's cheapest defense. Come on, Cincinnati. Put up your pantyhose. Spend some money on an offensive line. Spend some money on defense. This is freaking ridiculous. I want Joe Burrow playing for Super Bowls, not watching the Super Bowl.
You're going to keep waiting, brother. You're going to keep waiting.
And watch Jamal Chase get $45 million now.
Is Joe Burrow going to become the next Dan Marino, where he gets to the Super Bowl, almost got there, and then he never gets back and turns out to be the greatest quarterback of his generation? Okay, and look, I'm not saying Marino's the greatest quarterback of his generation. I grew up a Dan Marino fan. He's my favorite football player of all time. Even though I'm a Packers fan, Marino's my favorite of all time. And when Marino got to the Super Bowl, he never got back after his rookie year. Is Joe Burrow destined to walk that same path that Marino did, where he gets to the Super Bowl, doesn't get back for the rest of his career, and is still considered probably, it can be argued, the best passer of his generation? So I don't know. Bengals fans want to know.
Dan Marino's a good parable. I think that's spot on. I think that's absolutely could be the way it is. Marino is, I don't consider Marino better than John Elway for that reason. That's almost not even his fault, but he never had anything to work with. They never had running backs in Miami. They never had defense in Miami.
Okay. Charles, in John Elway's first 3 Super Bowl appearances, he faced the New York Giants, Phil Simms going 22-25, Doug Williams and the Fun Bunch putting up a million touchdowns in San Diego, and the 89 49er team. Maybe the NFL's best team. I don't know. With somebody named Montana, somebody named Rice.
Right.
I don't know.
Roger Craig, Tom Rathman.
I agree with that. I'm not saying that Elway, but I think he's at least been. They gave him a better team. He went 5 times to Marino's 1. Marino didn't even get the opportunity to even go, but the one time, and that's when he broke every record. And I think it was 84 or 85 or whatever.
Yes,
he broke he broke every record in the world, and they couldn't. That's as far as he could get him by himself. All he ever had was the Marx Brothers.
I think Dan Marino, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Dan Marino was still the only quarterback in the NFL to throw for over 5,000 yards in one season. I want to say Kurt Warner did it when he was with the Rams. I might be wrong.
I think Breeze did it, and Manning did it the year he threw for like 55 touchdowns.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I stand corrected. Drew Brees did do it the year he took the Saints to the Super Bowl, so I stand corrected. Sorry about that.
But I think back in those days of the NFL, it stood out much more.
You're right.
Nowadays, like, it's easier to throw the football. Like most of the teams in the 80s and 90s ran all the time. You might have, I think San Fran even was the only team to really have a balanced run and pass. Now, like Breeze, not diminishing that because it's still very difficult, but I'm just saying it is when Marino did it, it was really, 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 really unique.
It was. And I remember the Marx Brothers, Clayton and Super Duper. Those guys were prolific. And I hear you, Charles. I mean, if he had the best running backs that he had in Miami were a couple of guys named Bernie Parmalee, Troy Stratford. The list goes on and on.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was actually his name.
Yeah. And the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar we're talking about was not exactly center.
Yeah, exactly.
But getting back to Joe Burrow, though, that's just my greatest fear with Joe Burrow is that we're seeing one of the most prolific passers of his era, whose talent, like Marino's, may be wasted the rest of the way because he may never get to another Super Bowl. And I hope that's not the case because I like Joe Burrow. I think if you were to compile a list of top 5 quarterbacks right now, he would easily make that list of top 5. At least he would make my list.
At least
Here we go, boys.
At least Burrow's made a Super Bowl, unlike Allen and Lamar.
I hate to break it to you. DK has been traded to Pittsburgh.
Oh no! Charles, you just shit in my cornflakes.
5-year, $150 million contract to the Steelers. The Steelers will give up a 2nd-round pick.
Wow, Adam! I hope you're watching right now, bro. You gotta be a lot happier right now.
We gotta get big sexy. We gotta get big sexy draft tonight.
Right? Well, here.
Let me see what the heck is that.
I just found a link to one of the stories saying what Charles said about DK being traded. I'm gonna tag Adam in this and just say boom right there. I hope he's watching. Here we go.
This just came out 2 minutes ago.
Yep,
and I put it on my Twitter page.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Jeez.
Well, I guess. Deacon Metcalf's not exactly getting warmer weather in Pittsburgh.
He can afford to live anywhere he wants in Pittsburgh with that kind of contract.
I must tell you right now, the Seattle Seahawks confuse me.
Okay, well now this is really interesting that the Steelers get Metcalf, because now this completely, I think this completely restructures their entire thought process about who they're going to have throwing in the football. Because I mean, if you're if I'm DK and I find out from my agent, hey, you just got traded to Pittsburgh, okay, great, but who's going to be throwing me the football? And am I really convinced that Justin Fields is a guy that's going to get me the football? Because DK is a guy is almost the Terrell Owens of his era. He's like, get your popcorn ready, throw me the football, all this other stuff, throw me the damn ball, Keyshawn Johnson here. Okay, so this completely changes now Pittsburgh's philosophy, I think, about who they have a quarterback and who they're going to get a quarterback moving forward.
It's got to be Darnold. It's got to be Darnold.
I tend to agree, Charles. I think in the next 48 hours, I think those Sam Darnold to Pittsburgh rumors are going to heat up a lot here.
I think, I saw that today for the first time, and I think that's why they got warm there, because I think maybe sometimes we don't know, but a lot of times these players know. They have the same agent. They kind of know they kind of have a temperature on it.
Yep.
Let me see. So I'll say this. The Steelers haven't been this aggressive in the offseason in a long time. Usually the Steelers are trading wide receivers. The problem is they've got two diva wide receivers. Like, I wouldn't consider Amon-Ra a diva wide receiver, or Puka, JJ, Chase. Pittsburgh's got two diva wide receivers. And I know the Steelers draft the wide receiver position better than most. But, offensive line has been great. Does this mean, more important than the quarterback, the Steelers aren't going to take a wide receiver wherever they're drafting? Could this mean Janty's a Steeler, the Boise State running back?
You know what? I know Ashton Jeanty was an exciting talent in college at Boise State. And being a Fresno State fan, watching Boise State constantly kick the Bulldogs' ass every single year, I saw a lot of him this season. But you know what, Dylan? Ashton Jeanty, I could be wrong on this. I just don't see Ashton Jeanty having the same impact at the pro level as a running back as he did in college. I don't know if it's his size. I don't know if it's the fact that he has a different running style, but I just don't see him being an impact running back, at least right away, like everybody thinks he's going to be. Cautionary tale here. He has talent, but let's make sure he's not going to be the next Blair Thomas coming out of Penn State going to the Jets here.
Jeanty would be a clear upgrade over what they've had in recent years.
Oh, I agree.
I think like you and one more real quick about Metcalf. Like the diva wide receiver thing is Mike Tomlin's thing apparently. All of that stuff is not going to phase him. So he's going to be fine, like with the attitude and all that other stuff and talking to him. He had Antonio Brown, for God's sake. So he's not going to be bothered by that as well. They could move Pickens down too. I think that's a thing as well. But I think Jeanty, I don't think he's going to be there when the Steelers pick. I think he'll be gone. I'd be surprised if the Raiders I don't think Jeanty gets past Dallas. I don't. I think Dallas, that's right up Jerry Jones's alley, taking a running back like Jeanty.
No. I think there's a chance Jeanty falls out of the first round. That's just me. This is the best running back draft I've seen in a long time. I don't think Jeanty's much different than Hampton or either of the Ohio State running backs.
I think they could go in the first round too, depending on the situation.
By the way, how would you like to be Clint Kubiak, Seattle's new OC? Oh, wait, the Seahawks just traded their quarterback and DK Metcalf. I mean, JSN's good, but not JSN's number one. I don't know if JSN's number one. I think he's more of a possession wide receiver, not a game breaker. The Seahawks might be sleepless in Seattle before long.
They are getting some good draft picks at least. They're getting they got
in the worst draft in a crappy draft. It's not like this not like last year's draft where the first 14 picks were on offense.
So, Dylan, I just saw a tweet here from NFL analyst Diana Rossini, who she says, according to her, that the Vikings and the Colts are expected to be the leading candidates to sign Daniel Jones. There you go. He's not going to Jacksonville.
Thank heavens. Thank heavens.
And speaking of the Cowboys, they just re-signed Marquise Bell, their safety.
Oh, yay. The Cowboys spent money on a safety.
Well, they signed him to a 3-year deal. It looks like it's 3 years, I think $45 million. Okay. Interesting. And I just see here that it looks like ESPN is reporting that Justin Fields and the Steelers will not come to an agreement on a new contract. So it sounds like Fields is on his way out.
Sam Darnold?
Sam Darnold.
Sammy?
Yep.
Here's the thing. Even getting Darnold, they're still the 4th best quarterback in the division.
Right.
Wait a minute.
And it's not a knock. That's not a knock on Darnold. But look, you're still 4. It's much better than what they've had, though.
Charles, I've got a question.
Go ahead.
I've got a question. Who's Cleveland's quarterback? Bernie Kosel?
They're going to have, I think it's going to be Shedeur for Cleveland. Or Cam Ward, however that goes.
Josh, come on, man. No, you want Sammy. He won a few games with the Vikings last year. Not true. You don't have Kevin O'Connell coaching.
Josh, you'll be happy. They just got the best receiver, one of the best receivers in the league.
I mean, I don't know if DK's that great. I mean,
I think he's top 20. He's top 20. I don't think they're 20 better than DK Metcalf.
I could find 20 better than DK Metcalf.
20 better than DK Metcalf?
I could find 20 better than DK Metcalf. Give me like 2 minutes. Give me a couple minutes. NFC West, Puka, probably Devontae Adams. Probably not.
You gotta keep searching. I don't know about
AFC West. I think Courtland Sutton's better than DK Metcalf.
There are 20.
NFC North. I think Amon-Ra's better. I think Jefferson's better. I think DJ Moore probably better. And
he was 25th in. He was 25th in total yards last year and for receivers. He just missed 1,000 yards. He was like 992.
I think Zay Flowers better. I think both Bengal receivers are better. And then thinking AFC East, you could argue if either Dolphin receivers better. I think Shakir's better. I think Aaron Wilson's probably better. I think
you don't think that much of Metcalf. You would have him. You take Tyreek Hill over Metcalf at this point.
I don't know. I think I would take Eagle receiver. I think I would take either Commander receiver. I would take Malik Neighbors. I would take CeeDee Lamb. I would take Nico Collins. I would take Brian Thomas. I would take probably Mike Evans. I would take Drake London. Yeah, that's about 17, 18.
Okay. I mean, that's I don't know, man. I think Metcalf's pretty good.
But I think it helps the Steelers, but I think the Steelers need a quarterback, and we know Pittsburgh's quarterback's not on its roster.
In the last few minutes, I keep seeing Sam Darnold with the Steelers more and more, and less Seattle. Yesterday, last couple of days, I've been seeing Seattle, but more and more I'm seeing.
Yep.
I mean, what are the Seahawks going to do right now? I mean, Seattle's got to have its roster. Now, no quarterback, no top receiver. It's like,
Well,
Doesn't matter.
yeah. Well, like I said, it's clearly obvious now
I
that
say hi.
the Seahawks are in full tear it down and rebuild mode. So I think what Seattle's going to do is hi there. I think what Seattle's going to do is
My youngest daughter wanted to say hi there.
Hey, that's awesome. That's fine. Hello.
Alani. Yeah, you go.
So yeah, Dylan, I think now with Metcalf now being traded, I think it's abundantly clear John Schneider is going to start rebuilding with draft picks. He's going to start rebuilding with youth, and just do it the old-fashioned way. The Legion of Boom, long since gone. So, yep, loud and clear. Message loud and clear.
Interesting if that is the route. They were good last year, Mac McDonald, to buy himself some time for a rebuild.
Yeah.
Very clever. Like, he didn't do it right away because if he started losing right away, but he was decent enough last year and things, A lot of the Seahawk fans are fine with him leaving, too. They're not, heartbroken like what I've seen.
Well, and I guess, look, if I'm John Schneider, I'm looking at the landscape of the NFC West right now, and I'm seeing how the Rams brought Matthew Stafford back, and now they have Devontae Adams. So the Rams obviously are still going to be extremely relevant in that division.
Yeah, I'm going to make a bold prediction right now. I think the LA Rams are Philly's biggest contender in the NFC, bar none. Doesn't matter what anybody else does.
Hey, you got the Niners not making the playoff prediction correct. I am never going to doubt your bold predictions ever again. But no, seriously though, I mean, you're right, Dylan. At the landscape of the NFC West, now that the Rams have Devontae, Stafford is going to love throwing the football to that guy, and vice versa. I think Devontae is going to love catching the football from him. Stafford can still throw it. That's not the issue at hand for him. The 49ers, John Lynch is going to do what John Lynch does. He's going to find ways to get them back to relevancy. The Niners will still be competitive. So, yeah, I mean, if I'm the Seahawks and I look at the rest of the NFC West, I'm saying to myself, now is as good a time right now to start rebuilding, because within the next 3 to 4 years, the Rams are going to start to tear it down. The Niners are going to have to start to tear it down. So why not start to rebuild now when these teams are older and they're going to have to start shedding a lot of these big long-term deals in the next 2 or 3 years.
And Arizona can't really get themselves together in that division either, as far as past those other two teams.
By the way, Big Rich has this morning said he loves the deal, and I don't know what it is about Arizona. Like, Kyler Murray always excites me, and then he pees his pants halfway through the year and disappoints. But that's either near or there. I mean, come on, Trey McBride went until week 17 before getting a touchdown.
He can't take the next step. He can't. He's not a guy as talented as he is. Certain guys can't elevate their team. That's the problem with Murray. He's solid, but he's. I always call a guy like that Dave Craig. He's another old quarterback. Like, he would always have 1 or 2 games where it's, what are we doing? Like, he'd have. That's what I saw with. That's what I see with Murray. Like, he's 1 or 2 games where it's.
Okay. Can I clarify, Charles, real quickly? Are you talking about Seattle Seahawk Dave Craig or Kansas City Chief Dave Craig?
Both.
But
both.
Okay.
Those teams were just below.
Right.
Always that's Kyler Murray. You're gonna have a winning record. You're gonna have good stats. You're gonna win 2 games. You're like, man, I just can't get it.
One team we haven't discussed yet in this free agency fiesta? We discussed Packers. We discussed Vikings. What team haven't we discussed yet?
49ers.
No, I'm not a 49er fan.
Jacksonville?
Yes.
Oh, do you want to discuss Jacksonville?
Yes, Your Honor.
Just move the team to London, Dylan. Move the team to London, damn it. Shad Khan wants them there.
So then what are we going to do with our swimming pool then in our new stadium?
Build another Disney theme park. I don't know.
How are we going to – wait, we can't build a Disney theme park in Jacksonville.
Sure you can.
And Busch Gardens in Tampa, so we can't even do that.
Right, there you go. No, actually, funny you mentioned the Jaguars because it seems to me, Dylan, Trevor Lawrence is on borrowed time right now. Do you think Jacksonville is going to give him one final year next season to prove it, or do you think they're going to probably dangle him and trade him in the draft?
Oh gosh, not in this draft. Not in this draft. I mean, no, I don't see Trevor Lawrence going anywhere. Maybe if anything, Chris Godwin comes to Tampa because his old OC is now in Jacksonville, or maybe Cooper Cup because one of the Rams executives is now the GM in Jacksonville. But I don't know if Cooper Cup's what he was 3 years ago.
Yeah, that body's taken a lot of wear and tear over the last few years, and I think Cooper is still a serviceable player, but to expect him to be a game-breaking playmaker the way he was the first few years, that's probably asking a little too much of him.
Although I think the Jags have to get an interior lineman at some point, whether it be draft, free agency, trade. Otherwise, Trevor Lawrence is going to end up like he did when the Texan linebacker killed him. I don't want another year with Trevor's facing 28 injuries.
I haven't seen their name connected to anything, like as far as any of these moves either. Like I think that's
good. That's good at least.
Yeah, no surprise.
I mean, we've got the cap space. I mean, $60 million. One of my friends tweeted, I really want to see Aaron Rodgers to Pittsburgh.
I think it's Darnold. More and more here. I think we're about to find out too that it's Darnold. I'm not official yet, but I mean more and more. Every time I look up, I see Steeler Darnold. Rumor 140 offer to Darnold from the Squealers.
What? Wow.
Oh. Did you guys know that Detroit released Zadarius Smith?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Ooh, he better not come back to Green Bay. That's all I'm saying.
He will.
He won't.
Or the Ravens.
Yeah, that's right. He played in Baltimore too, didn't he?
Well, the worst thing with Zadarius, I don't know exactly what happened, but he agreed to come back. Apparently, or at least ADC thought they was going to come back, and then for whatever reason, it didn't. It went left. He wound up in Minnesota. So yeah, I don't. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
My Seahawks friend, who I just DM'd, said, "I have no clue what's going on in Seattle." Yeah, Jesse. Unfortunately, I have no clue what's going on in Seattle right now.
I don't know either. I think a rebuild might be what they're trying to do. I mean, I kind of didn't think that. I didn't think that when we started, because if you sign Darnold, but if you're trading away Metcalf, you let go Lockett, you let go Geno Smith. What else are you doing?
You know what Seattle's biggest mistake was? Not getting a quarterback in each of the last two drafts. I thought the Seahawks should have drafted Penix, not just with his college OC being in Seattle last year. It just made sense. Penix played well in Washington. He could play in the different conditions. Plus, Penix can absolutely spin the ball. Just made sense and drafted another defensive lineman.
And the funny thing is with Geno, he said he was fine if they did that too. You know, Geno, I think is one of my favorite players in the sense of here's a guy I literally forgot he was in the league. He was just total train wreck in New York. Totally didn't work out. Really struggled. Sat the bench. Kept going. Pete Carroll was the only guy that really believed in him, and he worked his way into a decent NFL starting quarterback in spite of it. And Pete Carroll believes still because he went ahead and taken him. So, but I think not getting Penix last year when they could have had him. I think maybe that was the plan. I think Penix went higher than what they thought too. That could have been true too. I didn't see that coming. Penix getting drafted at 7. I think it was the 7.
James Palmer tweeted out, Seattle is now trying to land a free agent quarterback with bad offensive line and no ex-wide receiver. Bad news. Yeah, this is not good. So, quickly, what is one team you think should be active, whether it be a free agency or trade fund between now and Wednesday when the league year starts, maybe even before the draft?
Oh, let's see. I'm thinking.
I'm surprised we haven't heard more New England with all that
By
cap
the way, the
space.
Patriots looks like the Patriots got Austin Hooper back. Oh, the Patriots are gonna run. The Patriots are gonna run the Winchy offense this year.
Wishbone there. I see you, brother. Get Barry Switzer and out there for the wishbone there. Put a wing back in there.
Who was the Nebraska the Oklahoma head coach with the St. Louis Cardinal football team? Bud Wilkinson.
Yeah.
Oh God, she did not fit.
So you asked which team needs to be most active either during free agency or the trade deadline. Is that correct, or the draft?
Yeah.
Well, it's looking pretty precarious for the New York Jets, although it's been precarious for the New York Jets for the last 40 years. Let's see. They've lost Devontae Adams. They've lost Aaron Rodgers. Of course, they never really had much when they had those two on the roster to begin with. I would expect the Jets won't be very active in free agency. I expect them, hopefully, to be very active in the draft, but I don't know. I think a team right now that needs to be active is a team that we talked about earlier, and that's the Cincinnati Bengals. You know, I think they need to figure out, I don't know how many bad contracts they're roped into, but like we just spoke about a while back, you know, you're wasting the best years of Joe Burrow's career. And if you're really hell-bent on getting back to the Super Bowl with Burrow, you need to do something quick here. And suffice to say, guys, the Cleveland Browns. Okay, you got Myles Garrett back. Great. Now, prove to Myles Garrett you want to win. Find a way to do it. Find a way to restructure more deals. Find a way to unload Deshaun, but do something. You know, whether it's a combination of draft and free agency or trades in the draft, whatever, do something. And then I think another team that needs to be active is the Raiders. All right, Tommy has a plan. He's already proven that by getting Geno Smith. He's already proven that by hiring Pete Carroll and John Spytek from Tampa Bay. So now start pulling some other deals, Tommy. Start talking to your contacts and start showing the Raider faithful there, wherever they are, in Vegas or wherever, that you're serious about wanting to build a winner there. Don't gamble on it. Just go out there and do it. So I think the Raiders need to continue to do something as well. And the Chargers.
I think the Giants have to be aggressive, probably because if New York doesn't win, everybody's getting fired. I think the Giants have to get a quarterback, whether it be Cam Ward, Shador, or Donald.
I don't like Shador Sanders.
I think Detroit's got to be aggressive. I mean, I think Detroit's got to swing for the fence here. Who cares about draft picks in 26 or 27? Take advantage of this young core.
Shador Sanders has, for me, so many red flags. If I'm an Italian evaluator for any team, the reason why is because I heard somebody say one time, Shador was raised by his father to be a star. He wasn't coached to be a football player. And Shador has talent. I'm not saying he doesn't. He has all the tremendous athletic talent in the world, just like his dad did. But again, he mentally up here, he was raised to be a star. He wasn't coached to be a football player. And that to me has a lot of red flags. If a kid up here mentally is thinking, hey, I'm in the NFL just to wear my mink coats, drive my Lamborghinis, and get tons of chicks left and right, which Shador comes off as being, and I might be judgmental of him, and if I am, I apologize. But I know the allure of drafting him is there because the athletic talent's there, but I just don't see a kid that's going to show up to camp and work and put in the extra effort. I see a kid who's going to show up to camp, walk through the door like his old man used to, and say, "Show me the money. Shador's here." Because we know Dion never did anything quietly. Dion, there's a reason why his nickname was Neon Dion, because he had to be the center of attention. And I see the same thing in Shador. That just raises a lot of red flags for me.
I think all the criticism you just had of Shador is kind of what I keep hearing. It's nothing to do with on the field.
Right, exactly.
Nothing to do with on the field. On the field, I think this guy is easy a first round quarterback. Now, is he as good as the ones last year? Probably not. I probably would put him 4 or 5, but like he's easily a first round quarterback. But none of the criticism is I think all the personality stuff. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is super arrogant. I mean, a lot of these quarterbacks are super arrogant. He's not boring. I think he's a bit of the whole Sanders thing and his dad and all that. That's a real thing. I think that's hurting him. But I think it's off the field and all that stuff is not going to drop. It's not going to drop. I think too. One other team I think needs to do something, and this is going to maybe sound weird, but the Chiefs need to do something. As good as much as success that they have, they got exposed in the Super Bowl, and they haven't. For a team with the record they have a lot of holes. They need 2 tackles. They maybe need a receiver. Worthy got in a little bit of trouble, even though that's maybe cleared up. Rice still coming back. Kelsey at the end. Tackles. They did sign Bolton, but for a team that's so good, they can't just stand pat. They need to do something.
The Chiefs need to get explosive again. That's what made them truly dangerous. Was they were explosive at the skill positions, and they haven't been explosive at wide receiver, even though Xavier Worthy is a tremendous explosive player. Pride of Central High, Fresno, California. They need to get more explosive at the other skill positions too. So you're right, Charles. They need to find a way to get that mojo back and to find the players that they can plug into Andy Reid's system.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I mean, we're talking about literally free agency isn't even starting. Well, legal tampering begins at noon tomorrow, and then the new league year begins Wednesday at 4 o'clock. So deals are going to happen thick and fast, and it's going to be wild and crazy. I mean, will the Patriots get a wide receiver? Because if Drake May's throwing their Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper and a Joey bag of donuts, New England's going to be fun to watch this year.
We certainly had a whole lot here, didn't we? I mean, while we were on, my goodness. I mean, you had the biggest trade in the world, and yeah, bag of donuts would be kind of hard for New England.
Yeah. All right, so Charles, Jason, thanks for hopping on to my free agency Fiesta, and I hope you guys have recovered from daylight savings time and losing an hour of sleep.
No,
I don't get my sleep anyway, bro. I'm always working, so no, it doesn't matter. It makes no difference for me. 4 hours or 3 hours of sleep to me is like normal. So
and I'm a high school sports reporter. I work at night. What is sleep? Really? Seriously?
Yeah.
Like Allen Iverson once famously said, "Practice." We're talking about practice here. I'm going to say sleep. We're talking about sleep here.
All right, thanks, fellas.